Check, cash, credit card, Bitcoin, any form of payment really, we don't care. Hey everybody, it's the Jimmy Doane Show. Welcome to 2020. Welcome to the future. This is the Jimmy Doane Show live. We've been coming to you since the last century.
Yes.
Yeah. As it turns out. But now we are special in this nice upgraded video format, which you're about to experience. And I will post a timestamp copy of this show up on YouTube right after we get done, or a few hours thereafter. And also you can find us in audio format around the web, places like Libsyn. You just search for Doane, D-O-A-N-E, Jimmy Doane, and you'll find us. And you can also send us questions right here on this Facebook channel. We'll be happy to get to them. Today is the 5th of January 2020, if you can believe it.
Sunday.
We are the survivors.
We're the survivors, that's right. Sunday, January 5th, a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of stuff happening. Yeah. The main thing, of course, was the assassination.
Kaboom!
Kaboom.
Assassination,
They
calls
took out
That's provocative
Lazy
language.
Salmon, or whatever his name is, Salome something.
You're always so respectful with the names
I don't know.
of foreigners.
It was Soliman, or whatever, I guess it is. But I thought it was interesting, the protest.
Salami man.
Salami Man, that's right. Quisling Salami Man, whoever. Number 2 guy in the Iraqi, of course, he was in Iran at the time.
No, reverse. Yeah.
See, that's what I meant. I was.
Yeah, I know.
They were going to make sure
just
that
testing people.
That's right. Text me when I make a mistake like this.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, he was in another country, and we decided to take him out, decided to take him out with a drone strike.
Mm-hmm.
And
it
so
was all perfectly legal.
all perfectly legal. That's right. Diplomatic community.
Oh, we have a piece of paper right here.
That's right. That's right. Says it's legal.
We're allowed to
Well,
do
it's
this.
interesting because, needless to say, the protests are all over the place. First of all,
See, it's signed by us. Yes.
it's about I would guess, I don't know for sure, but there's a lot of people that think, God bless, Trump saved us. This guy was killing, here's a litany of all the stuff he's done, but he's killed hundreds and hundreds of
That
troops.
was Shapiro's take, yeah.
And he deserved
Blood on his hands.
Should have taken him out earlier.
Soaked in blood.
Soaked in blood, that's right. And we had
Rolled in body parts.
That's it. I mean, unbelievable. And he deserved everything he got, which was death.
Right.
And
all of that, even though we don't know what that is.
even though, right. Well, not only that, of course, there are two other things. Well, on this side of the island, on the Atlantic, massive protests all over the United States and cities saying,
Really?
What are you doing? Yeah, a lot of people marching saying, what are you doing? This is
Oh my God.
you can't be killing people like this. This is illegal. It's unconstitutional. You just on a whim, you decided to.
Drone
of course,
strike,
Obama did the same thing.
Drone strike and drone strike.
Yeah. But I remember we have the famous picture of Obama.
Hey, Melania, you
this-
want to play Sink My Battleship with real people?
Yeah. So anyway, what was interesting, of course, was the
And look, well, go ahead. There you go.
the justification.
Right?
The justification was top men.
Uh,
When we start seeing
right.
extensive and very solid intelligence that Soleimani is plotting imminent attacks against the United States,
right.
the President as Commander-in-Chief has a duty to take decisive action, said a senior State Department,
Well,
top
those
man.
are the magic words right there. I mean,
If we had not taken this action, hundreds and hundreds of Americans were dead. Boy, you can see, why didn't we take out Salami when we had the chance?
at least those are the magic words. That is to say, at least they didn't come out and said, well, my dad wanted us to go over there, and so, or I mean something crazy, or we really need that oil, or whatever it is. Those are the right. If you're going to say something about an attack,
Right.
that's what you say. Is if we don't do it, they're going to come after us.
Well,
And
General Mark Miley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, said he was confident.
General, mark my words.
Yeah, mark my words, that's right. He said he was confident that Soleimani was actively planning attacks against the U.S.
I'm confident.
in the Middle East. Now, of course,
Right.
one of the things that's interesting is they were worried about him attacking an embassy over there, maybe, or a military installation,
Yeah.
or something. And of course, you have to ask yourself, well, I'm sorry, what were we doing there?
Well, right. That's the elephant in the room here.
Yeah.
And when we sit here and parse about what's going on, and right now, first of all, I think it's important to recognize we're still in the fog of war days of this is all going on. And who attacked who first? We hit their caravan, they hit our embassy, we hit their guy at the airport. Okay, but the elephant in the room is, what the hell are we doing there to begin with?
Yeah.
This is what the interventionists were warning about when we said, hey, don't go over there. It's a tar baby. You'll get your freaking and stuck and get blown up in your face. And here we are, thousands of lives and trillions of dollars later.
Right.
And there's still not even remotely a good exit strategy. No. Like nobody's, and there's not going to be. And we've talked about this before in the past. That's the whole point. That's why it's a tar baby. There's no good way to get out of it. You just
well, yeah, exactly. It was like in Vietnam. It was the same kind of thing. You're
at
slugging
some point,
you're slugging through swampy forests, and you're fighting almost an invisible enemy that lives there.
right?
And same thing now, sand instead of water.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's like an invisible enemy that still lives there.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
And they're home.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we could, if we wanted to live there, we could move in and take over and occupy. I'm just saying, but the point is that that's not what we're going to do, and that's not what we should do, because they're an independent nation and they
Sovereign nation.
Well, yeah. But
Well, of course, you notice. It's interesting because there seem to be some problems with Mexicans moving up here and taking over our country, whereas we could go over there and take over their country.
well,
Same
a little
thing.
bit of a different.
No,
takeover,
I'm kidding. Of
right.
course, I'm being a little facetious. But
Well, look, when I say there's no good way to get out, I don't mean that we couldn't physically get in or out if we wanted to. I mean, what happens as a consequence of leaving is we have to abandon all the allies that we've made in the region, so to speak, to the people that we told them we would protect them against when they agreed to help us when we got in 2 decades ago. It's a quagmire. It's a mess. People are going to die. It's harsh. It's ugly. So we'll see where it goes from here. I don't think we're in any danger of any war, but
interesting you should say that, because there's a lot of that is rearing its head.
well, you'd want that to happen, though. If you were Trump, like he put out a tweet that said, we're going to attack your cultural sites and
Yeah,
stuff.
what was that all about?
Well, I liked Scott's
They're
take.
going to bomb the Smithsonian Institution?
Well, look, here's the thing. It's not that he's going to do that. It's that he wants them to think he's going to do that. And this is the best read of the situation, I'll give you that. But that's what you would do if you were the leader. You want them to be scared of you. And the scariest thing is unpredictability. And it's chaos. It's, you don't know what I'm going to do next. I could bomb your Smithsonian Institute. I could bomb your preschool. And you want them to be afraid of you in that regard. So you would project that type of unpredictability. That was Scott's criticism. Scott came out and said, look, Lindsey Graham had a great presentation of it. Said, look, we're going to hit your refineries. Hit you right where it hurts, in the pocketbook.
Right.
And named there's 11 or so, somewhere between 3 and 11 refineries over there.
Right.
So, okay, but as you pointed out the other day, look, that's the way they make their money.
Right.
Like, do you really want to hit them there? I mean, that's maybe not the best place. Maybe how about some military targets? Maybe if the military is what's giving us a problem, if they're hitting our people or Yemen or whatever, then take out some military targets. But I don't know. Again, that gets back to what the hell are we doing there, and why be in harm's way anyway? It's not our business. I mean,
said this all the time.
If Tennessee attacks Kentucky, okay.
Yeah.
Send our.
Well, not only that, if the Iraqi Revolutionary or Iranian Revolutionary Guard, if they march into Daytona Beach, okay, then I'm going down there.
Sure. That's absolutely. But if Congo attacks
Zimbabwe,
exactly,
who cares?
Not our problem.
Not our problem,
and
right.
we should not be there because it just puts our guys in harm's way and gets us involved. And the wounds of war are slow to heal, easily reinfected. It's
amazing.
They're deep. They're harsh. And
I mean, this is it is interesting when you look around the world to see the Hatfield and the McCoys. It's 100 years old.
Oh, and this place in particular.
Yeah.
This is 1,000 years old in terms of, and it's never going to get better until, we're going to have to create the power vacuum that allows somebody to rise back up and take control at some point, or we're just going to be there indefinitely. And I don't think we want to make it the 51st
Well,
state.
you know, it's funny because we're indefinitely in Japan and Germany.
Well, but we could
with
pull
NATO.
out of those places now. I mean, that's actually an argument for the reverse. I mean, you could say, well, look, we could close up shop out of Okinawa, out of Germany, like you said.
Yeah.
Nobody would miss us. No danger of impending war breaking out because of our absence.
Right.
The power vacuum's already been filled by whoever was there.
Well, that brings up. Let me just finish this
Sure.
thing here real quick. We had clear, compelling, unambiguous intelligence that Qasem Soleimani was planning, coordinating a significant campaign of violence against the United States in the coming days. Of course, it was U.S. military outposts in eastern Syria and diplomatic and financial targets in Lebanon, according to General Miley. The U.S. is confident that the size and scope of the planned attacks constituted an imminent threat.
General Miley Cyrus?
And yeah, right, that's right. And he said, and by the way, he said, it still might happen. Okay, so
Right, right.
So what you're saying is you took this guy out and we still, now what?
Well, but of course. I mean, this is war. It's chaos, is like its definition.
Well,
You
I
never-
thought it was interesting. This other thing, the dovetails right on this, which I pulled up today. Baghdad.
Okay.
The Iraqi parliament called on the government on Sunday to work to end all troop presence in the backlash grew after killing a top Iranian military commander and an Iraqi militia leader in the U.S. strike on Baghdad. So they are now saying, now it turns out it's non-binding, but it turns out that they could make it binding. And they're basically saying, okay, you came in here, you took out Saddam Hussein, and now you can leave.
Right.
Bye-bye. And what's interesting about this is you wonder if they in fact vote completely and make it a law that the United States has to go away. Take your bat and your ball and go home. We are, as he says here, the special session was called after the drone strike on a convoy at Baghdad airport, killing Iranian military commander so-and-so and Iraqi militia leader Abu, what his name is.
So these are the moderate rebels who formed the
moderate
government.
rebels, whatever it is. So it turns out that the factions in Iraq all got together and said that we want you out of here.
Right.
And
That's what Tim Pool tweeted today.
Did he?
Wouldn't it be ironic if Trump accidentally ended our occupation of Iraq? But I think Scott's point about this is on point, which is as close to we are as war, we're close to peace also, because that's what.
Well, the thing about it is, what the guys said over in Iraq, the guys that did all this stuff, they said, look, we've got an army now. We can defend ourselves. We understand when what's his name was in here. You might have come in and deposed what's his name.
Yeah.
But that was then. This is now. Okay,
They've
now
got universal health care.
Huh? Yeah, right.
It's in their constitution.
So right. So now we've done the voting. Purple fingers, the
Right,
whole
yeah.
deal. You've reinstated. You got the democracy, regime change, blah blah blah. Now go away, and it'll be interesting to see if we find some way to not go away.
Yes.
You kick them out.
You see, your law, it's not signed by us. I don't understand.
Right. You can't just kick us out. What do you mean?
We were looking at it, and we decided your law's illegal.
Yeah. I think this is really, it reminds me of a couple of things, that when a people, a civilization, a sovereign country decides to either leave another place. When I say a sovereign country, at least in the case of Great Britain, of course, it was like the Scottish people wanted to depart from the UK, and they voted on it and decided not to do it or whatever. But now when the sovereign country in the Middle East says, we want you out of here, what possible explanation can you use? I mean, I have no doubt they'll come up with it.
Well, look, I mean, and the reason you have no doubt they'll come up with it is because history, it has literally zero examples of people simply separating off from other peoples.
Right,
peacefully.
Yeah. But even we had a monster war to get rid of.
Oh, yeah. And you talked about the British Isles. I mean, the number of splits and recombinations that they've had. And it just goes on and on all over you can do the time-lapse photography of the map of Europe and see.
Oh, yeah. That's always fun.
Yeah. So nobody's really nobody really expects that to happen. But I agree with you, as we get more into the future, where we are now, as you can see, that maybe you would at least sort of, fingers crossed, maybe we would start to recognize that type of independent sort of, the Declaration of Independence language applies.
Then that's kind of interesting. I mean, because it would be, as I say, they're a sovereign nation, for God's sake. They got borders and everything.
But all that really means is that they've got some guns. They're willing to defend themselves. Well,
they said they're willing to defend themselves.
Right. Yeah.
And so the next thing you know, in the process of, you could see the false flag coming up here right away. As we say, we're going to depart. And then there's a bomb explosion on one of the military bases. Okay, we're going back in. I mean, just, Tonkin Gulf,
I don't think
whatever.
we need any type of false flag. I think we have plenty of people in the military, and like Lindsey Graham, who are happy, or Ben Shapiro, who are happy to be over there bombing shit, keeping people down. They feel like it's an evil regime, and they're evil people. But evil, as I said in the beginning, by definition is chaotic. The worst kind of evil is unpredictable, chaotic evil. And that means it's uncooperative also, which means it doesn't collude well with itself. It's mostly rogue actors. You can't get a whole big group of people to act evilly. You have to convince them there's some righteous cause behind the whole thing before you get the masses behind you. And
they do that. That's the patriotism thing.
Well, right. You can do patriotism. You can do religion. There's a few different excuses as to why it's your destiny to pick up the gun and shoot the other guy. But they have to frame it that way. And it's just the small group of people at the top that are maybe lost in terms of their redemption. Their whole family was killed in the wedding drone bombing, and they don't give a shit anymore. They're just going to kill as many Americans as they can see until they get taken out or whatever. But that's a small group relative to the masses, and so I guess we'll see where it goes from here. But
I'm excited.
I think Trump's going to love his new role as the commander here. I mean,
really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not the person who thinks Trump is super over the top in terms of his ego and whatever, but he's certainly not lacking in that category. And this now he gets to play the role of conqueror of the world, so to speak. It's
scary.
You could ratchet it up. It might be a little bit attractive.
I don't know. Yeah, it is a little. I mean, you can't say anything nasty. Mrs. Jimmy would disagree with you, of course, because she loves Trump.
Sure,
totally.
Sure.
And as far whatever he does is just perfect.
Right.
But
at least they're still using the right rhetoric there.
Yeah. So anyway, then of course Lindsey Graham. He talks about he says, what are they thinking? We need to target their oil and take out their entire economy, which is just great. A couple of million, got tens of millions of people that are going to starve to death.
Right, exactly.
Take out, God, what are you thinking? And
hopefully that's a bluff as well.
With Lindsey Graham, I don't know.
No, I don't think it is.
No, he is.
He'd hit that button.
Well, I'll tell you, he'd bomb everything. So what are they thinking about in Tehran? Revenge is what they're thinking about. How would you stop retaliation to deterrence? And yes, wait a minute now, deterrence. The whole thing just doesn't make any sense to me. So, I mean, the whole thing is just, it's like you say, it's the fog of war, and there are lots and lots of people on either side. I don't know if it's 50-50, but a lot of the people with the guns are on one side that figure that just peachy over there, and the other thing of the regular people here in the city that march, 20,000 people or something march down San Francisco or LA or someplace like that and say get out and that kind of stuff. So
well, and this all comes down, I'll just point out again, it's even though it's very hard to determine who did what first, it does come back down at some point to a who started it type of a situation.
I suppose it does. It's one of those things because you always have. Hell, when you go to the principal's office after a fight and the two people walk in there, he started. No, he did.
Well, that's why I say it's difficult to do, but that's like the call that has to get made at some point is that. Now, then there's the question
of... so what?
Well, yeah, and this comes back to what do we do in there? You don't go down to the other kid's neighborhood and hang out in front of their house until something goes down.
Yeah.
So, from my perspective, we should not be engaged in any type of military conflict for anything economic. Only something strategic. If they attack something like Great Britain, where, well, okay, if they take them, that's a big hit to the world stability, that kind of a thing. So we would go to war for that.
Not my problem.
Well, maybe.
Take them out. I don't care.
Maybe. But, again, Angola versus...
Zimbabwe, whatever it is. Yeah. South Africa. Who knows? Okay. So we're moving on.
Okay.
We're going to go down under.
You're right.
All right. Australian police say arsonists and lightning are to blame for the brush fires, not climate change.
What?
That's right. This is a blow to the climate change people. They are spitting mad. In fact, what they did is they went up and accosted the Prime Minister. He was at some kind of rally or whatever, and they were just screaming and hollering because he's a known climate denier person, or he's on the border. He said, "Yeah, no, I don't know. It's no big deal." Despite the fact that brush fires are not uncommon in Australia, the severity of the damage led numerous climate change alarmists to blame the disaster on man-made global warming. Bernie Sanders blamed those who were delaying action on climate change and the blood-red sky and unbreathable air in Australia because of raging forest fires. There we go. However, according to those tasked with investigating the fires, climate change has nothing to do with it. Other causes of fire include lightning strikes and a natural weather phenomenon called dipole, whatever that is, I don't know. Neither of which have anything to do with man-made climate change. Many brush fires are actually caused by environmentalist green policies, and we've seen this here in this country, that prevent landowners from clearing their own vegetation. Fire victims heckle Australian Prime Minister as the country burns. They did show a satellite picture of it. It's pretty extensive stuff. Anyway, he was the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, was confronted by an angry residents in some town as brush fires made worse by climate change continue to ravage the country. Morrison is a climate change skeptic and has been sharply criticized, which has been an insufficient response to the wildfires. Well, of course, one of the things and of course here it is, two things. One, at least 19 people have died. Okay, that's bad, but it's 19 people. I mean, out of a country of millions, okay? And they got out of the way, basically. Now, 1,300 homes have been destroyed. Now, one of the things that you look at is in this country, I wasn't that many. I remember years ago, for those of you who are, youngish people, I remember when they had a huge fire in Arizona. And the reason was they had failed to clear out the underbrush. They had failed to have, and I think what they did is they started with what they hoped was going to be a controlled burn, and the conflagration was immense. And then, of course, you see what happened in California. Just this last year in California, what happened? The Pacific Gas and Electric people or whatever are not clearing their underbrush around their wires, so the wires are melting and falling down, starting the fires, the whole deal. And it's all because the green people are saying, you can't. Well,
yeah. Well, I mean,
and apparently that's the same thing in Australia.
Yeah, and that could be it. It's hard to tell from all the back and forth. And I mean, we know people have been moving into previously uninhabited areas for decades now. Right. And you look at the map of Australia, and 3/4 of it is a giant desert. Right. Obvious.
When they call it the outback.
It's ready for fires. It's ready.
Well, a lot of it is still desert-ish.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's certainly not. It's not like Arkansas burning, or I mean, it's a desert. It's already burned, so to speak.
Well, anyway, apparently what's happened is this is a big one. And then they said there's smoke. People are having problems breathing and everything because
like
the smoke is coming over.
It's big in the sense of 1,300 homes. Right. Okay. What's that? A few neighborhoods?
Well, no,
that's like one area.
I think they had 1,300 homes in California.
No, I was going to say that. I mean, it's not huge. They're talking about it's the land mass size of New Jersey or something. Well. But my guess is, and I don't know, but my guess is that the vast majority of that, I would say 3/4 of it, is out somewhere that's totally uninhabited.
Well,
and doesn't affect anybody.
Well,
there's probably a couple of big fires near some residential areas,
right,
that are giving everybody the problems and the smoke and the videos.
Well, that's right, and of course the other videos that are pulling at your heartstrings. What are those? Do you think?
The animals.
Animals.
Yes.
They figured 500,000 animals.
Oh, I heard 1 billion animals.
Well, 500 million is what I heard. But yeah, anyway,
exactly.
The B word is in there. Okay, whatever it is, the B word is there.
Yeah.
And they showed the picture. Here's a kangaroo that was like singed. Yeah, right. And then there were some dogs saved a koala.
Right.
On and on. And of course, I would imagine the PETA people are down there. But of course, one of the things that you think about is this is Australia. Okay, I don't know what the population is of Australia, but it ain't all that much. I mean, it's huge.
20 million?
20 million, maybe. It's a huge place. Okay. I mean, we got 20 million here in Florida.
Yeah.
All right. But the bottom line is, you got these fires that rage over, like you say, the size of New Jersey or something, which is, I don't know what it is, but it covers.
It's tiny relative to Australia. I mean, Australia's 2,500.
I won't say it's tiny, but it's a good chunk.
It's a tenth of. It's 1% of the size of Australia.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
I thought it was larger than that.
Australia is like 2.5 million square miles. It is like really big. And all the people live on the coast.
Right. No, I know that.
On that one coast, not just all around the coast. They just live on the one coast. And so the rest of it is just outback. I mean, that's where it comes from. And
I do know that they have, when they have a cattle ranch out there, it's kind of like, each cow has to be 20 acres or 50 acres or something because it's so sparse.
Yeah.
Where in other places, when you have a feed lot, each cow can have 10 square feet.
Yeah, now this makes West Texas look very populated.
Right, exactly.
It's
well, not only that.
Densely populated.
I agree with you. And of course, one of the things is, so what are you going to do? I mean, here you've got this fire that's the size of New Jersey or whatever it is, and you've got, 1,000 firefighters.
Right. Well,
you've got the airplanes that are going to drop something and cover 1/10 of an acre.
Right. Well, and that's why you're going to go to the 3 areas where there are people living by these fires.
Right.
And you're going to focus your efforts there, and they'll be fine. And they'll do the same thing they did in California, which is people will move from those areas if they think it's too risky to be there. They'll take a look, hopefully, at some of those strategies that they used to use, like clear burns and things like that, and see whether or not they should be doing that stuff for the safety of the people. But
well, they have a weather phenomenon there that's kind of interesting, and that's this. I forget exactly what they call it, but it's a climate change.
I heard you say it.
It was dildo or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Dipole. Here it is. But apparently, what happens is with the way just down south, they work up literally a hurricane of fire that is 150 miles an hour hurricane.
Cool.
And not hurricane, tornado. And it sweeps through almost instantaneously. I mean, it just is just 50 mile an hour or something like that, going through some woods. It's not like nobody's going to outrun it. And I mean, there's birds that can't even outfly it. So but that kind of stuff is tremendously. But where are you going to get the water? Where are you going to get the chemicals? How are you going to stop it? Are you going to build one of the things that they try and do in our Western countries, in our Western states, is they would do a fire break. And that's, maybe it's a road or they dig a ditch, a big wide ditch or something. But these fires, they leap over that in 2 seconds.
Well, some they do, some they don't. That's it. That you got to build a good.
Still, again, I'm just saying that this is one of those cases. They have this kind of stuff almost every year. This happens to be a really bad one. Apparently.
Look, you say really bad, and you talked about 19 people, and people talk about this as being an effect of climate change or whatever. First of all, 2 things. Number one, this is weather, and if you're going to separate weather from climate, then you can't really connect them. But if you're going to connect them, then you have to consider the cold and the cold deaths that just happened as well. They just had 80 people die in Kazakhstan in the last month.
Really?
Yeah, from the cold. But you don't see that posted all over anything, and that's 4 times the number of people, and that was this one country, just one story that I read about.
Wow.
And so, it got super cold and people died. Well, so then and 4 times as many. So you'd kind of want things to be warmer for the people who died in the cold, if you were going to really take that into account.
Oh yeah, I think we've had a couple of deaths here, not many, but because of the cold that we've had here.
A cold is more deadly than heat for humans.
Really?
Yes.
I don't like heat.
Well, you can get out of the way, and you know where the heat is, and you can get to the coast, and you can get to the water, and you can protect yourself. You can move. But when the cold comes in there, where are you going to go? 100 miles south? I mean,
yeah.
There's no. Well, you can, but then that requires relocation, and that means you're admitting that life there is over already. It's like that's a huge thing.
Speaking of that, here's a little twig on the tree. It occurs that, as you know, this is the year of the census.
Yeah.
2020 is a census. It turns out that Florida, as people have been flooding into Florida because of the cold up north, they're coming down here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Florida's been in the last century. Florida got Doppler radar, mosquito control, air conditioning.
Air conditioning was
high-speed travel and high-speed communications.
Right.
I mean, that makes Florida livable relative to 100 years ago.
Also, what's interesting is that it looks like we're going to pick up 3 House seats.
Oh, okay.
I mean, in other words, I think we have 22 House seats or something like that, and they're projecting that after the census.
Then I guess they'll have to do a little redrawing.
That's exactly right. Not only do we have to do some redrawing, which would be great. I mean, it'd be a lot of fun to watch the Republican legislature redraw everything, because and they're going to have to say we're not really gerrymandering. But But the interesting part is that there's going to be there's 2 things to consider. One is there are going to be some new seats that are currently don't exist, and there's going to be a battle for those, you can bet. And other states where they have taken away somebody, there's going to be fewer seats, which means there's going to be a real.
Hey, how do they? I guess they just.
They just say you now, instead in Illinois, for instance, which had a huge exodus.
There is no district now that you ran for last time.
Exactly, that's right. That's gone. That's gone. And it's gone. And
if you want to run,
no,
for
really,
your place,
and they redraw it. And of course, very often what happens is when they redraw it, it covers 2 people that are already in the Congress, and only one of them can survive. So then the battle begins, and that'll be interesting. So that bodes interestingly. I don't know how long they have to do the redraw, because remember now, 2020. I'm still out on this twig. I'm going to come back here in a minute. In 2020, I don't know how long they have to do the census.
Well, okay.
It's supposed to be done fairly quickly. They're hiring people at $15, $20 an hour to go door to door on this stuff.
Right.
And it's only a couple of months, I guess, but they're supposed to do all this work, and then they have to collate it and tabulate it. Which in this computer age, it doesn't take long.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Punch cards.
Yeah, well, no. Of course, that, as you know, that was one of the first things. That's what. Okay, I'm not going to go. Not going to go there. So anyway, I don't know when they're going to be required to redraw. If it's going, I don't think
before the swearing in.
I don't. Right. Well, no, I don't know it. I don't know how when they do the census.
Probably by the opening of campaigning.
Opening of campaigning starts about 20 minutes after the last
but there's
election.
probably some official opening, like a registration period, and then 1 month after registration opens is the official opening.
Well, the problem is, it's going to take the legislature a little time to redraw the districts and get it cleared. And I don't think that can happen if the census, let's say, was even completed by June or July. You've got 3 months to redraw now.
Well, I think what they do is, when you say get it cleared, I think all they do is they probably draw some maps and then just put them out there. And then they
always go to the courts.
Well, that's what I was going to say. And then it's up to somebody to sue.
Right. My only point is this. I don't believe that even though the census might be completed by the time the presidential election rolls around on November 3rd, okay, I don't believe the district's going to be redrawn by then. So it'll be the same old, same old.
That's got to be in the statute. All those time frames are probably in the statute.
Right, but, but you understand that the redrawing of the districts is state by state. It's not a federal law. It's a federal law on how many you get, but states that determine, what the, where the borders are on that stuff. So anyway, I guess the good news for the people here in Florida is the more than likely most of the House members will retain their seats because there's extra 3 places, but in other places like Illinois or someplace they're going to lose 1 or 2. There's going to be a battle royal. That'll be fun.
Well, speaking of laws, there's been some interesting things that come into effect right now, like the California law that requires 1 woman to be on the board of directors.
Really?
That starts now.
Really?
All public companies have to have a woman on the board.
All public companies.
Right, but here's the catch. It doesn't have to be a biological woman, just somebody who identifies.
I was going to say that's the first identify as a woman.
Well, and here's the interesting thing about this, right? Let's say that somebody does that. Nobody can question them because that would be discrimination.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can't say, well, look, you're really not acting like a woman. Like, you just sort of identified that for the board, right?
Yeah.
And then the response to that is, what do you mean I'm not acting like that? And by the way, I don't have to act like that. I can act any way I want to, identify one way and act a totally different way. I can identify as a woman and call myself a lesbian and still be married to my wife.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see if anybody pushes it and if any of this comes out in like a trial.
Okay, well, of course, this is California, so we're talking soup and nuts out there.
Well, nobody is fake out there at all. So
no. Well, this speaking of California laws, though. I pulled something up. California freelance journalists pitch amendment to the gig economy law. Now, what's the gig economy?
The gig economy is like things that use your phone and the internet that didn't exist before the internet, like
so this is
Airbnb or Uber, or any of the businesses that are.
Well, it's interesting because one of the things that's happened is in California, they just did pass a law, and they're trying to get the Uber drivers and other people in the gig economy who are considering themselves private contractors. Of course, that means they pay taxes differently.
Yeah.
And so California's not happy.
That's why it works.
Huh?
Well, that's why it works.
Right.
That's why they're pissed.
That's right. That's right. Well, what happened is there's the California people who overspend everything. They're saying, wait a minute, there's money out here that we need to get a hold of. And of course, the people that
there was a need for travel. I mean, the taxis didn't cover it. You couldn't get shit for anywhere. And now you can get everywhere. I mean, I rode from the middle of Atlanta to North Atlanta for $10.
Yeah.
And that was like in an Uber X or something.
Yeah.
And the guy was there in like 30 seconds before I could hang up the phone. There was 5 people ready.
Yeah. Amazing.
And that's the way you want it. But so what are they doing? So
anyway, what happened is this particular one. They're trying to get the Uber and Lyft people in to have them have to pay health insurance and all this other to count to the state. They're trying to get them.
This is the taxi people, man. This is.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, but this one though, are the freelance. These are the freelance journalists. Now these are the people that literally are, when you see these, a lot of people, they come out, they go out like Tim, what's his name?
Tim Pool.
Yeah, I mean, these are independent journalist people, okay? And they go out, they do the story, they file it, and then maybe if a paper publishes it, they get paid. And it reminds me a little bit.
Now they're going to have to be employees.
Exactly. And the deal was that you had a maximum of 35 submissions per year, I think it was, or something, per employer per year. 35 admissions per employer per year. So in other words, if let's say you submitted 36 articles to San Jose, whatever it was, and 20 articles to the East Jesus Tech, whatever it is.
San Jose, whatever's got to cover your medical bills.
That's right. Now you're an employee.
You pay for your kids' medical and dental and vision.
And so, needless to say, they're saying, "What are you talking about? Who came up with this number? Who came? What? 35?
Look, I'm sure it was a committee of Mensons
top people.
That's right, top men out
Top
there.
men.
And
Well,
I did the white power sign right when you said that. It was
top men. That's it.
totally unconsciously
So anyway,
signaling.
needless to say, they have a state's upcoming gig economy law, which they say puts their livelihoods critically at risk. And one of the things that they've typically done in the past, and this is one of the reasons why Uber and other people got away with this, because you're using your own car.
Yeah.
And if you're at home on your own computer and you're not in the newsroom, then you're
Look,
independent.
here's what's happened.
Okay.
Here's what's happened. What's happened is that employment has become so overregulated on every level that people found another way.
Right.
Which is, I'm not your employee. I'm just another guy with another business working somewhere else.
Right.
So they sort of differentiated the way that people work. And the system is rebelling against that because it avoids taxation.
Right.
And this
Who doesn't want to do that?
Yeah, well, exactly. And look, and all these extras and all the protection and everything. I remember when I had my business, I would routinely get letters from people that would say, "We will come for a mere $500 and make sure that you have the correct posters on the wall, which notify your employees of their rights, and you have to have these specific posters."
Yeah.
And they would offer them to you at like $100 a piece.
Yeah.
And they had to be the right font and the right size,
Yeah.
and they had to be hung at the right height and the position and the place and all this kind of stuff. And there was an official certification that you could get that all my signs are correctly hung
What a
and the
racket.
notices are there.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, because when we were parking cars on the lawn here, if we wanted to charge for it, I had to get a $50 certificate, and it had to be prominently displayed
Yeah.
so that the authorities could see it from the street. And if it wasn't, it's a $50 fine. And
Yeah, it's good
and
we
of course,
weren't charged.
one of the things that is interesting, now they've never showed up here, but Mrs. Jimmy, of course, as you know, is an interior decorator. But she's got like 9 of these things on the wall, and one of the walls in there that are all her permission slips.
Got to get
Unbelievable.
permission to do anything. But so anyway, so these guys are trying to get an exemption. At least somebody's trying to push back against the encroachment. But I'm surprised, as I've said many times, that the gig economy made it as far as it did. When I first heard about Airbnb and Uber and these companies that, from my opinion, had circumnavigated all of the licensing requirements associated with their particular industries.
Right.
When you have a hotel, you can't just have a hotel.
Yeah.
You think you could just have a hotel? You
Yeah.
can just let people stay in your house?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You think you can just cook for somebody? What are you thinking? That's been done for thousands of years, but you think you can just do it without permission?
Yeah.
No, of course not. You gotta get permission, you gotta get licensed, and all in advance. You gotta have the right equipment, everything. All checked out in advance.
Well, they still do a lot of that.
Well, of course. That's what I'm saying. There's a portion, as you know, if you want to just get a freaking hamburger, you can't just go get a hamburger from somebody. They have to have 47 licenses and things hanging on the
Not only
wall.
that, they have to have the proper utensils.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Equipment, utensils. Nobody in this town can bake a cake.
That's what's amazing.
You
is
can't
because
bake a cake.
If you bake, and of course, because we know a girl here who bakes cakes.
That's right. Or
And-
used to.
She used to, and she was fabulous at it. I mean, really unbelievable.
They shut 'em down.
They shut them down, and because she didn't have the right kind of oven.
Well, it's because the oven was the same oven that other things were cooked in.
Right.
Which might have, in some way, contaminated the cake, and therefore she couldn't be responsible enough herself for contaminating any food that she would serve and sell out of her own kitchen. They had to be responsible for her and protect us. And
Well, it is.
So they shut the whole business down.
Right.
And that's every one of these. But
And of course it's interesting. They have regular inspections. The inspection people are nuts in this town. They do go around. You see,
it's funny though that not even the businesses can make cakes. Like you can't even go down to the local place that bakes your
Really?
food. Yeah, they have to have a special separate oven for pastries and desserts and things.
I didn't know that.
And that's why all the desserts in town are all frozen. That's why whenever you go somewhere, like Outback or wherever, you don't get fresh things. You get something that was baked in Arizona or Hawaii or something. And
Really?
yes, for 2 days.
Now, we do have at least 2 places that I know of that
There are a couple that were set up as bakeries beforehand and have the extra oven already there.
Okay.
But it takes up so much extra space. It's like Mildred's has that because they have literally an entire separate restaurant right next to their restaurant.
Okay.
So there's just enough overlap so that it's still affordable.
Okay.
And there's one downtown, the Leonardo's, that makes theirs. And again, that kitchen was made a long time ago. It might be grandfathered in some way.
I doubt it.
I doubt it as well.
No.
Probably they just have the extra oven, the extra expense, but it's worth it because it brings in people who actually care about what their desserts taste like.
Yeah, and of course, then we do have some official bakeries in town.
Yes,
that's all they do.
Yes, but
and they have to have the special
everything. So all right, so. That's yes. So another is that all we got on the gig economy limitation there or appeal?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, I got one other California law real quick.
Okay.
And this was going around the web this week. They were talking about it'll be illegal for a person to take a shower and do a load of laundry on the same day in California.
What?
Because
water shortage?
Yes. Well, okay, and this is a little bit misleading. This was clickbait. It turns out that one of the parameters for the new law, which goes into effect, which regulates water usage in California, talks about looking at 55 gallons per person as a good amount of water usage per day for a person. And a load of laundry takes about 40 gallons, and a shower takes somewhere between 15 and 20. Mm-hmm. So theoretically, if you were a single person and you did both those things in one day, they could flag you for too much water usage.
And how do they do that?
Well, it's on your meter.
Yeah, but they have to check it every day?
Well, those meters are super sensitive. I'm sure they report back to the...
Oh, you mean the electronic reading? Yeah, sure. Okay, good.
Yeah, I mean, they just keep track. It just shuts you off. You're just in the shower. And, oh, no, heck no.
I remember when...
Shut it down.
Grandma had one of those special meters on her air conditioner. Mm-hmm. And they could turn it off if she used too much air conditioning.
That's right. We had the smart meters here in Florida for a while. Right. Well, now what they won't do that. What they'll do is it'll just ring up that bill. It'll just go. Water. Oh, sure. You want some water? No problem. And then you'll get a bill for $1,000. And that's the fine. That's the minimum fine. I don't know if it's the minimum, but that's one of the fines. It's $1,000. And they talked about a $10,000 fine, but that was for the municipal agencies. That was different. But the point is, it's interesting law. Water limits in California, and of course, if it's a multi-person household, you can do multiple. Each person gets 55 gallons, that kind of thing. And it's not a hard limit, is what I'm getting at. But interesting law. Also, the minimum wage laws kick in out there, and that's all in those laws.
Well, that'll be interesting to see how those work out, because they said that the ones in Seattle have not come out and have not worked out exactly as they planned.
The minimum wage laws?
Yeah, apparently there's some problems. Although, the people that want the minimum were the Bernies of the world. They always talk now about a living wage as if $15 an hour is a living wage. I don't know where you're living. You're damn sure not living in San Francisco on $15 an hour.
Well,
but anyway, the deal is that that these laws that kick in here especially on the water usage, which is kind of interesting, because now that's statewide, I guess.
Yeah.
What's interesting, of course, is we have a federal law that regulates your toilets to 1 liter or something per flush.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why, one of the big things you want on a black market, which is kind of fun, is if you can find an old toilet, you go and get it out of wherever the old toilets are, and there's a market for that, and you install that in your house.
Oh yeah.
I will say this, however, because one of the things when the law was first passed, and the toilet manufacturers were trying to abide the law. I think it's 1 liter or 1 gallon or whatever it is. Maybe it's a gallon, 3.2 liters or something per flush. And when they first started, you couldn't get rid of it. I mean, you had to flush 2 or 3 times in order to do it. I will say this, that we remodeled here and put in the new toilets, and they work. And they are, but again, I mean, if you happen to be, right outside of Niagara Falls, and you have to have, this kind of, restriction, I'm thinking, wait a minute, why is this? I understand if you're in the middle of the Sahara, in the middle of Death Valley, you might want to restrict your water usage. But there's a lot of places where there's just plenty,
A lot of desert in California also. So.
Yeah, a lot of. But I mean, if you're up in the mountains or something, you have snow melt. I don't know. Okay, okay. And let me see how we're doing on time. Oh, the only other thing I got here, which is kind of interesting, apparently Bloomberg's money has paid off.
Oh, what? He's tied up in
He's tied for number 3. He's former New York, saw a 6-point bump in the latest Hill Harris X survey, nationwide poll, which was released Friday. He's up to 11%, which he ties him with Warren. Good. And so it'll interesting. Biden continues to lead the field with.
It's still going to be Hillary.
Yeah. Well, that's right. You know what's interesting is I have seen the people coming out. And this is all tongue in cheek, but
sure.
Who's going to run in 2024? And they're talking
Ivanka.
Exactly.
It's going to be Ivanka versus Chelsea.
Yes. That's exactly. They are already placing bets. I don't know. You know, one of the things you can do in Las Vegas.
Well, you can't do it there. You can't. No, there's a rule against gambling on political. Well,
you can do it online.
Well, you can't really. It sucks because what it is they've limited the betting to $1. So it's a fake bet. It's not the same thing. You have to go, if you really want to bet on the presidential campaign and the anything bets that you're talking about.
Yeah.
This used to be a thing where you could bet on anything.
Right.
Anything you could think of. You know, how many times is the coach going to pick up his glass of water during the game?
Right.
17 times. I got $5,000 on 17 times.
Yeah.
And it's awesome because you get to see what people are really thinking about, what they're really just kind of curious about, and then people's predictions about things. It is a fascinating predictor.
Well, right. They talk about this as the wisdom of a crowd.
It is. It's an amazing thing. But when you limit the amount that people can bet, then you distort the whole thing. And that's so I
didn't know that. I thought you could bet on. I think in England you can bet on anything. They have bookies that'll do anything in some of those because they're private.
That may be. I mean,
but here I'm really surprised that here in the States.
I think it's one exception.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. I thought.
I'm pretty sure that's the way it was last time I checked.
Okay, well then that's...
So they limited it to $1. You can bet on it, 96 cents.
Okay, there's two. Do you have anything in particular?
I just got a couple super quick things.
Okay, well I got a couple of things for next time. So.
Okay, well my things are super quick, as I said. One thing I wanted to point out was, did you see the video you did, I'm sure, of the Texas shootout?
The church one?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So that, since last time we were here, that happened.
Okay.
And I thought it was funny. My favorite comment was the other 6 shooters, the only thing they killed was the gun control narrative.
yeah, right.
Because the narrative is, of course, that if you had 6 people pull out their guns in a church, that there would be hell. They'd be shooting babies.
That's right.
Body parts everywhere.
That's right.
Some people would shoot themselves.
The blood of Christ. No.
That's right. They shoot through their own foot, whatever.
Yeah.
No, didn't happen. They killed the intruder in 6 seconds, and that's what happens.
Yeah.
And that's much more likely. The guy who can take the best shot, who is the best shot, takes the shot. It's over. Everybody goes home safe. Amazing.
Yeah, really amazing.
Except for, I guess there was one death.
Well, that was the guy who walked in. As he walked in, he killed somebody. Yeah, that was a problem.
And then I liked the Babylon Bee had a great.
Now the Babylon Bee, you understand, it's like the Onion.
I know, and they were
real satire.
They had 2 great ones this week.
Okay, good.
One of them was dog picks up human poop in San Francisco, and the other one was America offers to trade all of its communists for Hong Kong protesters.
Yeah,
and it's like, come on over. I love it. But all right,
and we haven't really spoken any much more about it. It seems to have fallen off the front page, the Hong Kong protesters.
Well, they arrested all those kids. They got a bunch of them.
Did they?
Yeah, remember they raided the university, and
well, that was some time ago. But I mean,
but you got to figure they got. All you got to get is a few dozen of the top people. And you saw that one video of that one kid strapped into that medieval machine or torture chair. You didn't see that?
No.
Yeah, that was online. That was on the front page of like Drudge for like a day. And all you got to do is get to a few dozen of the top people, and that'll put the kibosh on the protests for a little while. I mean, they're still going out there, but
I don't know. Wait, how do you figure out the top people out of the million that are?
oh, you kidding me? This is Hong Kong. This is China, basically. So they've got all the facial recognition, everything.
Have you ever seen
all the algorithms running the whole time, social credit score? And they were trying to disguise themselves, wear the masks and everything, but there's only so much you can do. Have I seen one?
Do you know the demographics of Hong Kong?
A little bit.
Not that many Chinese there. I mean, so yeah, no, it's a lot of Vietnamese are
Unless
there.
you're counting Hong Kongers. I mean,
No, but I mean that's what I'm saying. There's 80,000 Americans or something in Hong Kong.
yeah, but it's 90% Chinese.
I suppose it is, but a lot of them, of course, are Hong Kongers.
Right.
Which is, but it's interesting.
But China's been moving people in there as fast as possible in order to change the demographic. I think they've instituted a 10% shift in the last couple of decades.
Well, that's no big deal. Last couple of decades, when you think about it, I mean, Hong Kong was not any kind of a power until the 70s.
Yeah.
So
And it's lost a lot in the last couple of decades.
it
too,
really has, yeah.
in terms of its thing. Economic power. But all right, anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks, Kenny. Thanks, Scott. I hope you guys enjoyed it a little bit. We did. Good to be back. Welcome to the new year. Welcome to the future. We'll see what happens. We'll be here talking about it as much as possible. So
We'll be back Wednesday.
that's right. The 8th. So see you soon.